What's up, everybody? We are back with another review. Today we're talking about the new game, Directive 8020. We're going to do our usual run through our pros, our so-sos, and our cons, and then I'll give you my final thoughts at the end and a score. Before we do that, if you want to hang out live while I play brand new games, we got new game that's Unheard of Caribou Trail coming up. Same day, actually, that I'm uploading this. The new Forza game, the new 007 game. If you want to come hang out while I'm playing new games live, Twitch is linked down below. Also down below is my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you're into cars, I have my car, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel. If you're into hiking, I have hiking, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to watch my playthrough of Directive 8020 or any of my single-player playthroughs, I have my single-player channel linked down below, as well as the playthrough playlist for Directive 8020. So if you're not familiar with Directive 8020, it is a decision-driven narrative horror game where you are a crew of astronauts going to a new planet to try to learn more about the new planet before it gets settled. And in the first chapter of the game, something crashes into your ship. You go to investigate it, and it turns out to be an alien life form that is the basis of the horror of the game that can replicate objects and people and monsters. And so it's dealing with that. And the goal, obviously, is to try to make it through the whole game with all your decisions leading to the crew being alive. But there's multiple different endings, and there's a lot of different things that can happen throughout the story. And so it's just a narrative, decision-based horror game. So starting off with the cons, the only con I put on here is the multiplayer. So there is multiplayer, but it's like couch-style multiplayer where you're on the same monitor. Which, you know, multiplayer being a con is an odd thing because I always like multiplayer for any time that you can get multiplayer in a game, but it's the execution of the multiplayer. So essentially what it is you are playing multiplayer on the same screen sitting next to somebody. Couch co-op is fine, but you just pass the controller. And so they put this as a multiplayer mode. There is plans to try to do an online multiplayer and potentially even include a friends pass. And if we were talking about that, then this would be different. But it's a pass the controller multiplayer. I think you should at least be able to plug in multiple controllers, and then it'll switch whose controller is active. But they didn't do that. You just pass the controller. Well, you don't need to do a multiplayer mode for that. You could just do a single player mode, and me and someone could be like, hey, every chapter, there's 8 chapters, pass the controller. But it's not that. So putting in multiplayer mode is good. The execution of the multiplayer mode is very bad. So this goes under cons. That was my only real con. For so-sos, I didn't like the voice acting. It wasn't horrible. It just wasn't great. It didn't pull me in. It wasn't super convincing. I just didn't love the voice acting. There's not much to say on it. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was just fine. So it's in the so-sos. Now, my other so-so, and this is very important because it's a narrative game, is the story. The story is not original. It's not unique. The twists aren't unique. I found a lot of it to be very predictable. The story did not grab me at all. It didn't really hold my attention too much. And in a narrative-based game, that is very important. It wasn't horrible. It just wasn't original, and a lot of it was very predictable. There's even a lot of decisions that you have to make that are big decisions, and I chose the wrong one, but like predicted what the right one should have been, and I just chose to go the other way. I just thought the story was just not, being trapped in a space, no pun intended, or on a ship or whatever, and there's something hunting you down that can shapeshift is not a unique thing. Decision-based narrative games are not unique, and so just the story being kind of just whatever was not great for a narrative-based game. But for pros, we actually have a decent amount of pros here. There's different play types, so there's 3 different difficulties. And essentially, they come down to the quick time events, which are very important in this game, and how much time you have and how much alert you have for the quick time events. So that's the different difficulties. And then there's 2 different play styles, and I can't remember, one's Survivor, and I forget what the other one's called. Survivor's the one I did, where your decisions matter. You can't take back decisions. Even though it kept prompting me to rewind, I played the one that you can't take back decisions. It might be until you finish the chapter you can't go back, but the other one is you can easily go back. to change your decisions. I wanted to play through with my consequences actually mattering, so I played it on the medium difficulty on the survivor mode. You could easily play it, obviously, on the easiest difficulty with the one that makes you lets you revert decisions more easily, and of course you could go the hardest and play with the one that gives you doesn't let you redo decisions. So there's essentially six different difficulties and play styles you can play the game. So I think that's good for people to customize their experience, and you can even do your own custom settings to customize all the different things that would make the game more or less challenging. My next pro is decisions matter. I like games that do that, even if they're not like narrative-based decision games like this and oh my god, Detroit Become Human. Even if they're not necessarily decision or narrative games where the decisions really are the gameplay, I like that the decisions matter. Then I also put multiple endings that goes right along with the decisions mattering, but I like that not only the decisions matter, that there's a lot of different ways you can get an ending, and there's multiple different endings, and it just makes the game more replayable if you're into this game. Another one that is a very small pro because it's unique to people that stream and have a decent sized chat. If you just have a couple people, like I will typically have, it's not a great feature, but you can integrate your Twitch, and every time a decision that you have to make comes up, it automatically puts a poll in your Twitch and lets your chat vote on it. So if you're a streamer with a decent amount of people that are active in chat, it can be a really fun feature to really involve your chat, and it's something I haven't seen before and something that I really like. The next thing I have is environmental music. It's very typical, stereotypical like horror music, but it pulls you into the environment and the tension more than the story does. And the other thing that does that is the graphics. I thought the environmental graphics were really good. The face graphics were pretty decent, but I thought the environmental graphics and lighting and everything were really good in this game to help create that environment. It's a shame that the music wasn't a little more tense, and the game just wasn't super tense for me in general, but the graphics were, and the lighting and the environment were not to blame for that. One thing I did forget to put on here under the so-sos was there is a lot of stealth sequences, and I don't mind stealth sequences, especially in a horror game that involves a monster. But they were really easy to get through, they were really predictable, they were just fine, and they got to the point where they were just repetitive and tedious, and so they were just kind of so-so, but those are my pros, my so-sos, and my cons of Directive 8020. Now, as far as what I think overall of this game, I think this game is just fine. It is not amazing. It is not horrible. It is just fine. It was not a very scary horror game. Like I said, the music and the environment was fine. It was very stereotypical horror music, but there just wasn't a lot of tension built. And I don't know, maybe if the story was a little better, or the music was a little less stereotypical, maybe more unique, maybe a little more intense. It wasn't the environment or the lighting's fault. It wasn't that scary, and so with the story being kind of weak and predictable and it not being that scary, and when it's a horror narrative game, those two are kind of important factors. And so I did not hate I don't know what it took, about 6 hours, I think. I hope we can't hear this. So 2.5 hours is one of my parts of my playthrough. The other one's 3. So about 6 hours is all it took me. And it's 6 hours, not being that scary, the story not being that strong in my opinion, and being $50. I think this is more of a wait for it to go on sale, but worth playing at like $35 to $40, unless you are really into narrative-driven games and really into horror games and you just want to experience it right away. I would say wait for this one to go on sale, and it's worth it once it goes on sale, because 6 hours for $40 is not a bad deal, even if the game isn't that great. I just didn't love it. It wasn't that scary. It was pretty predictable, and you know, narrative games can be pretty light on gameplay, other than there's a lot of quick time events and a couple small simple puzzles to solve, but it wasn't heavy gameplay either. So overall, I liked Directive 8020. I was kind of let down because I was very hyped for it. And all of that being said, I'm going to give it about a 6.5, maybe a 7, but I'm leaning towards that 6.5 on Directive 8020. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you like game reviews and you want to see my opinions first. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.